Melinda hated driving at night. She did her best to avoid it. Short trips to the store if she just realized she ran out of tampons or had nothing for dinner after getting home. That sort of thing now and then. But she did her best not to go out after dark, unless someone was coming to pick her up. So naturally, she found herself on the longest drive of her life tonight, with no moon, few stars, swirling clouds above her, and acres of forest on either side. As so many unpleasant things in her life, this was her father's fault. She hadn't seen or spoken to the old man in 15 years, but just after falling asleep tonight. No, that was wrong. It had been yesterday by this time. Out of the blue, her phone had rang, and his voice was on the other end. "I need you, Melly. Please come now." He'd said that, just that, and then the line went dead. The old sot was probably drunk, but he'd never called her before, not since she was a child, and he was still trying to convince her mother to take him back. It felt like she'd been dreaming, waking up to hear his voice again after all these years. It sounded like he was crying. His voice sounded just the same as the last time that she had heard it. As though in a dream, she had risen, dressed, and gotten in the car. She was well out of town and halfway to the old place before realizing that she had no way of knowing if he even still lived there. She received updates from her mother from time to time over the years about where he was. The last time she heard from her mom about him was 7 years ago. Had he ever stayed in one place that long? Not to her recollection. She'd been 7 when her mother finally had enough and showed him the door. Prior to that, a move had come every few months. The house they had lived in was their longest stay in one place, a full 16 months. It turned into 2 years after that, and then the next house had been the one she left when she moved out on her own. In all that time, she heard from him sporadically at best, and had finally decided it was best to simply forget about him. Until tonight, that was. She'd found out after a 2-hour drive that she'd been right to wonder if he was still in the same place. His last known address was a sketchy apartment in a low-income area of town that she had grown up in. Had he been number 24 or number 42? Maybe he was 14. It definitely had a 4. Didn't matter, his name wasn't on any of the buzzers. Bastard. Her drunk of a father had called her at night, all but demanding that she come to him for reasons he didn't even feel were important enough to tell her over the phone, and then just expected that she would know where he lived now. In a flurry of rage, she turned and marched back to her car, slamming the door and starting off in the direction she'd come. She was so angry, she didn't even look where she was going, and missed her turnoff. The next thing she knew, she was on this lonely stretch of road. Cars were sparse, but she took some comfort in the fact that she would pass one every few hours or so. Her dashboard clock now read 2:27 a.m. She'd been driving for more than 5 hours since leaving her house. At night. Every 5 minutes or so, she checked her cell phone. Ever since realizing that she was lost, she had checked her phone and found no bars at all. She even stopped at a gas station, closed of course. Just sure there should be some service around here somewhere. But there was nothing. Take stock of your life, Melly, she thought. She was over 30. She hated her job, and her mother didn't get along with her. She hadn't seen or spoken to her father in just under half her life. She had no time for friends or relationships, thanks to the aforementioned job that she hated, and now here she was, trapped on a road she'd never been to before at night. She couldn't even so much as call, let alone check Google Maps. She was a smart lady, it would seem. She briefly considered stopping and flagging down the next car that passed. She quietly realized the futility of that plan. Any car on this road would also have no service, so there was nothing for it. She'd have to drive until she saw a house. She'd feel bad for waking someone up, but there was no choice. She needed to find her way back to the main highway. But so far, all that she could see on either side were trees. Mile after mile of trees. No light shining through the bushes. No sign that anyone had ever been here before, except that there was a road, and people were obviously still driving on it. There weren't even any road signs, other than the mile marker. Had she really found the middle of nowhere? She was just in the middle of this thought when her headlights illuminated something just up the road. A square, wooden sign, obviously made by someone other than the government. This wasn't a gas, food, lodging sign, or a mile marker, or a distance to sign. This looked like the kind of sign advertising a private business. She slowed down and read it. Granny Royce's Roadhouse. Come stay the night at Granny's. She'll take good care of you. Rooms, board, low prices. Next exit. Her heart sped up. She certainly wasn't interested in spending a night at Granny Royce's, but every business had a phone. At the very least, she'd have a map, or know the way back to the highway. She decided that she would stop here. She almost missed the turn. Granny Royce's Roadhouse was buried at the back of a long dirt driveway, secluded amidst the trees. She was almost past the little dirt road that led back to it before realizing it was there. She skidded to a stop and turned in. The little house lay ahead. It was 2 stories and looked to have about 8 to 10 rooms. Big for a home, but small for anything announcing room and board. She got closer and looked for a vacancy sign. Nothing. It wasn't that the sign wasn't lit. There was no sign. The porch light was on. The front of the building was illuminated by the light and by her headlights. No sign of any kind. She almost wondered if she'd gotten the wrong place, but she was certain that she had seen no other exits between this house and the sign announcing it. She paused in the driveway and took out her cell phone again. Still no service. She had a quick search for any available wireless signals. To her complete lack of surprise, there were none, not even any secured. There's no one here but me, she thought. At this point, she wouldn't be surprised to find the house empty as well. But the light was on, and this was supposed to be a roadhouse. Someone would be manning the front desk. She got out of the car and headed for the front porch. As she turned around to make sure the light flashed when she hit the lock button on her fob, she thought she could see a flash of movement in the trees. Something human-shaped. She stopped and looked again. Nothing. She decided that she had imagined it. At the front door, she hesitated. If it really was a roadhouse, then she should be able to just go right in. But what if she got the wrong house? If she tried the door and just walked in, she could find herself arrested out here in BF nowhere. Cautiously, she tried the knob. It turned. She pressed gently on the door. It opened. Relief flooded through her when she saw that she was in a small but tastefully decorated foyer that had obviously been repurposed as an administrative area. A quaint desk with an honest-to-God guest book had been placed in the far right corner, and some chairs had been set out as well, along with magazines on a table. She read the titles briefly. Mademoiselle, Blue Book, new country life, arts and architecture, before turning her attention to the little desk. There wasn't a computer. That was a cute touch. It was like the house was from a past era. Perhaps old Granny Royce really didn't like modern technology. There was, however, a little bell, just like there would have been in 1929. It wasn't even the round silver kind you slapped a ring. It was a little porcelain handbell. This place was starting to out-cute her. Please let her have a phone. Please let her have a number plan, not 50s exchange. She picked up the bell and gave it a shake. For a while, nothing happened. Then she saw a light come on in the back room, and the shadow of an old woman sprang up on the wall. The shadow moved toward her, and within a few seconds, she saw it was the owner, Granny Royce, who perhaps looked like every grandmother in every storybook ever. "Well, goodness, my lands, good morning, dearie. Pardon my tardiness, but it's been a while since we've had a guest at this hour. Can I take your name, honey?" Granny Royce was smallish, her gray hair tied in a neat bun behind her head. A dress that would have looked like it belonged to a senior citizen in the 20s, and a faded pink sweater. Melinda thought that she looked just like she would have wanted her own grandmother to look like. But her mother's mother had died when she was very young, and she'd never met her father's mother. It almost hurt to deny this sweet little woman her business, but nonetheless, she had to get home. "Actually, I'm sorry, but the fact is I'm lost. I'm not even sure where I am. And I need to—" "Oh, you poor thing. Just sit down and let me fix you some tea or something. You must be cold." "Really, thank you, but I'm okay. I just need to use the phone, if I could, or if you've got a map, even that would be lovely. I really only live a couple hours from here." She trailed off, not knowing if she was even right about that. She easily could have driven those 5+ hours in the wrong direction entirely. "Oh, dear, I'm sorry, honey, but the phone lines are down. As for a map, well, I used to have one, and if I look, I still might, but it's probably quite out of date by now. The highway's moved since then. I know that much." Melinda's heart sank. How could her luck get any worse? No phone, cell, or landline, and no map. What could she do? She had to get home. She was expected to work at 6 a.m. tomorrow, and why were there no phone lines? The weather was coldish but clear. Were they fixing a line nearby? She told Granny Royce the name of her town, but Granny only said, "Believe it or not, I've never heard of that town. What did you say your name was?" She told her again. "Doesn't ring a bell, I'm sorry, but I could not say which direction it's in. Why don't you stay the night, sweetie? I'll give you a discount for your trouble." "Thank you, that's very kind of you, but I have to work tomorrow and I need to get back home. I'm not even sure why I'm out tonight. The only reason I had doesn't seem to matter anymore." "Honey, I wouldn't advise trying to drive back that far tonight. Why, it's almost 3 in the morning, and you've not had any sleep. Maybe the lines will be up in the morning, and you can call your work and let them know that you'll be late." "That won't work either. I'm the opener. No one will be there. No, I'm sorry. I really have to leave. I'll head in the other direction until I find the road I was on." At that, Granny Royce's expression, already one of kind concern, seemed to shift somewhat to one of fear. She paused, looking at Melinda as though she wanted to say something else, to keep her inside. Finally, she said reluctantly, "Well, all right, honey, if you're sure. Just you be careful now. Don't speak to nobody until you're back on the road." The last warning seemed a little silly. After all, what was Melinda, a little girl? She thanked Granny Royce for her kindness and headed back to the car. About halfway to the car, she remembered thinking she saw something moving in the trees. Her eyes scanned both sides of the secluded little clearing, looking for anything that appeared to be moving on its own, rather than being blown by the slight wind. She saw nothing, and satisfied, she headed back for her car. All 4 tires were flat. Damn it! She leaned down and saw long slash marks on each tire. Someone in this little slice of green acres had slashed her tires in the time it took her to find out that she had no way of contacting anyone tonight. Kids from a local farmhouse, it's gotta be, she thought grimly. Nothing else to do, so you might as well go out at night and slash tires. She stopped and let the reality sink in. She wasn't going anywhere tonight. She had no choice now. She had to stay the night here until morning, when hopefully the phone lines would be up and she could call someone from work to ask them to go in for her. Then she'd have to call information and try to get her tires dealt with. She sighed and walked back in the house. She could hear Granny Royce as she walked back to her room. She'd already turned off the lights, resigned to her fate. Melinda rang the little bell again. "That you, miss?" she heard Granny Royce call. "Yeah, it's me. Sorry to be of a bother, but my name is Melinda Orton. Sorry I never mentioned it before. I guess I'll take a room for the night, if the offer's still good." "Oh, of course it is, dearie," Granny Royce said, re-entering the room and turning the lights back on. "Melinda, oh, that's such a pretty name. Well, let's get you situated. You put your name and arrival time in the book there, and I'll get you a key. All the boarding rooms are on the 2nd floor, and there's only a couple left." "There are other people here?" That was surprising. Not a single car had been out front when she pulled in. "Oh, yes, Miss Melinda," Granny said, puttering around in the adjacent room. "Mr. Norris, young Calvin, there's a few of us here." She came back with a key in her hand. "Just out of curiosity, what made you change your mind?" She seemed to brighten as she asked the question, as though relieved that Melinda would stay after all. "Oh, it's probably just local kids getting kicks, but I found my tires slashed." Granny stopped suddenly, her face twisting with concern and worry. Then she resumed, as if nothing was wrong. "Nothing to be done for it, I suppose?" "Well, not until the morning at any rate. Then hopefully the lines will be back up." "Oh, yes, hopefully." She led Melinda up the darkened staircase and into an empty, quiet hallway. Or perhaps not so quiet. From one end of the hall came the muffled sound of someone crying. Whoever it was, they were crying softly, not with anger or petulance or fear, but with deep sadness. It sounded as if the crying was something this person was used to, but they were still unable to stop. "Who's that?" Melinda asked, pointing in the direction the crying was coming from. "Oh, pay no mind to that, honey. That's just Mr. Norris. He's been like that for a while. Older man, you understand. Not all there." She tapped her temple. "I understand," Melinda said, but wondered privately how an old, out-of-touch man would wind up at a roadhouse. "Has he been here long?" "A while, I'd say. Don't really recall how long exactly." "How does he pay for room and board?" "I guess he doesn't drive," Melinda said to the old woman. "Actually, it doesn't look like anyone here has a car." Granny started at this, looking up with an almost guilty expression.
"Oh, well, that kind of thing is the business of the guests. I don't ask about such."
She turned the key in the lock of the room that she had led Melinda to and opened the door. Turning on the lights, she showed Melinda the quaint little room. Melinda thought it looked like stepping into the past. She could swear the room would have looked modern in the early 50s. Come to think of it, so could the rest of this place, she thought. No wireless service, no computers, an old bell, all those magazines. They looked new, but... That thought was cut off as Granny put the key on the nightstand and started with the instructions.
"Now the bathroom is down the hallway there. You'll be sharing with the whole floor, so please bear that in mind if you have to go. There's a shower schedule on the door as well. First come, first served. You'll just have to add your name to the first available line, and that's the order the showers are in. I wouldn't worry about that if I were you, though. I'm sure you'll be the first in line. I get up at 6 a.m. sharp every morning and start breakfast, but you come on down whenever you're ready, and I'll whip something up for you. Oh, one last thing, my dear. I would strongly advise you not to leave the room until sunup. You just never know what could happen out there in the dark."
"Of course," Melinda replied. "I'd never go out there in the dark if I didn't have to." She stopped that train of thought right out of the gate. After a few moments, she was alone. Alone without anything to wear to bed and nothing to shower, brush her teeth, or her hair with in the morning. She sat on the bed and looked out the window, which faced out on the front. Her car was still where she had left it, the only thing for miles that seemed like part of her world, and an expensive, overly large paperweight until she could get a hold of someone, she thought bitterly. Despite the hominess of the room, she felt an unwillingness to rise and shut off the light. Somehow, the thought of going to sleep in this backwards little room seemed unthinkable, so instead she continued to sit and stare out the window. A figure in black detached itself from the shadows of the trees and made its way to her car. The hell! She jumped up and ran to the window. The figure was tall, seemed to be wearing a cloak made out of night. She saw as its arm extended, its hand was carrying a long, jagged dagger. It dragged the dagger across the side of her car, leaving a long gash mark on the paint and metal. "Hey!" she shouted. The figure kept dragging the dagger. She reached for the window to open it. It wouldn't budge. She looked for the lock, but she couldn't see one. "Hey!" she yelled again. This time the figure raised its head. She could see the glint of two eyes under the hood. The figure raised the dagger, slowly, determinedly. It pointed it straight at her face. She leapt away from the window and ran for the door. A noise on the other side stopped her. Footsteps, dragging, shambling footsteps, and crying. The sound of a person for whom deep, longing sadness was a way of life. Mr. Norris.